Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. We hope you've had a great conference so far. We have a wonderful day ahead of us, and the learning continues. As we heard yesterday, learning isn't a good thing, it is everything. And so we want you to have everything you can today. First of all, no word on the donkey, whether it's been born yet or not. So I just wanted to let you know, I haven't heard an update yet. Todd is going, you've lost your mind. What are you talking about? Anyway, it is my great pleasure to welcome my good friend and colleague from Amarillo, Texas, Todd McLees. Todd is bringing us a presentation today, Being Human in the Age of AI. Todd works at the intersection of digital transformation and the future of work, propelling innovation, workforce development, and learning strategies with a distinct emphasis on artificial intelligence and its implications. As managing partner at the Innovation Outpost, a visionary nonprofit organization established by Amarillo College, he melds technology and impactful learning experiences to build a more resilient future. Innovation Outpost is pioneering a new model for workforce development and regional economic transformation with a spotlight on the potential of AI and its impact on work. It has evolved into a vibrant community hub that fosters skills development, promotes a culture of collaborative innovation, and encourages entrepreneurial efforts to stimulate economic growth. By empowering individuals and organizations to harness rapidly changing technology, including AI, and adapt to evolving workplace trends, the Innovation Outpost, or the IO as we call it, is making considerable strides. As an accomplished strategist, I know Todd's said shut up already, but as an accomplished strategist and thought leader in the future of work, Todd forges alliances with stakeholders across the United States and really across the globe on collective impact initiatives. These focus on digital transformation and its influence on work and learning, with particular emphasis on the application and implications of AI. As the chief architect of the Human Skills Framework and Curriculum, he focuses on skills employers highly value in the shifting landscape of the age of AI. Please find supplementary information in your workbook. I believe it's on page 34. There will be some questions there that your board can consider. And I believe Todd has some questions for us all to consider. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Todd McLees.
Good morning. I want to thank Jay for asking me to do this, and so happy to be with all of you. As we get started, first of all, I'm breaking precedent, and I've prepared some comments. It's hard for me to stand at a podium, so I'll see how long I can last, but I'm definitely going to be working the stage too. I'm wondering how many of you have heard about ChatGPT in the last 6 months? Yeah. How many of you have used it? How many of you use it every day? That's good. How many of you have conversations ongoing at your campuses, your institutions around AI strategies? Well, one of my favorite things to do is to synthesize information about technologies and its impact on people and the future of work. It allows me to get together with groups like this and try to work together to separate the signal from the noise. And there is way too much noise about AI today, maybe not enough in some cases too. There are definitely risks we have to navigate and consider. There are an incredible number of opportunities, some of which I want to share with you today. What we cannot afford to do is to wait any longer, not with this particular technology. Not at the rate of innovation that we are experiencing right now. It is unprecedented, and it's difficult. You know, we're in a room together, you go back to campus, go back to your daily life. It's difficult to understand how profound the speed of what is happening is, what is occurring. I do this all day, every day, 7 days a week, honestly, much to my wife's chagrin. And I can't get my arms around how fast it's moving. I'm wrong every day, every week about it. And all I do is look at the data and look at the industry. And it's because of the speed, it's because of the rate of improvement, and that the danger of waiting any longer to be intentional about building strategies around artificial intelligence. It will create gaps that will be very difficult for us to close. So what I'd like you to do is just think for a moment or two about, in your lifetime, what has been invented that you consider to be the most profound technology before AI? That would be cheating. But up till now, in your lifetime, what do you think is the most profound technology? Jay, what would you say to that? Yeah, it's probably not a very deep use case of mobile technology, but the thing that blows me away is I'm born and raised in Wisconsin, and 4 years ago, I could not watch a Brewers game or a Packers game or anything like that while I was traveling, right? I had to have record it, go home, watch it, look at the highlights on YouTube. It started to get better. But today, wherever I am on an airplane, it doesn't matter, I can watch live sports. And that kind of blows me away, of how quickly that went from not available to available. When I lived in London for a few years earlier in my career, there were, it was a complete blackout in terms of American sports. It was very rare. You could watch one game a week, and it was sort of at 3 o'clock in the morning because it was Monday Night Football. And it was a very different time. Today, you can watch sports from around the globe because we're hyper connected. 40 years ago, 1983, there were 563 devices in the world that were connected to the internet. And today, there are 14 billion. And that connectivity has created this incredible pace of innovation that we are part of, we're living through, and we have to prepare people to experience. So as you were thinking through the things that were most profound during your lifetime, perhaps one of these hit your list. Throughout all of history, there have been 24 technologies and 14 systems or processes that have actually shifted the way we live. And they're listed here. Now, when we think about AI, the technologies that are most often mentioned are control of fire, approximately 1.7 million years ago, and the discovery and commercialization of electricity, so the electrification in the late 19th century. Ever since then, whatever you thought about is less important, less impactful than what artificial intelligence represents. People like Sundar Pichai, who's the CEO of Google Alphabet, it says AI is more profound than the discovery of controlled fire, more profound than electricity. It's the most important thing humanity is working on. So in the discovery of fire, we revolutionized our way of life. Fire provided warmth, we cooked food, we transformed our diet, we enhanced our survivability, we leveraged it to extend days into nights, we explored, we fostered community. The second industrial revolution was powered by electrification and gas combustion engines. It changed the way the world made goods. We created systems like the assembly line to foster mass production. That brought the cost of vehicles down, and ultimately, as industrialization really made its way through society, new socioeconomic classes like the middle class were created. But we changed the very way our management principles at work. When we think about artificial intelligence, just like every major technological advance, there has been a corresponding human response. As we determine how to integrate new tools, systems change, processes change, and life changes. But the profundity of technology like AI it's not inherent. It lies in its potential to redefine human capability, creativity, and interaction. As we stand on the cusp of the age of AI, let's remember that this is not a story about machines. This is a story about us. It's a story that we get to write. It's a story about what we are and what we aspire to be. That's why I liken it to Gutenberg's press. So Gutenberg just wanted to make money selling Bibles, and he created the press, the printing press, in order to allow that. But within a couple of decades, millions of books proliferated throughout Europe. And we saw communication and education. We democratized these types we democratized knowledge, and it changed the world, resulting in things like the Italian Renaissance and the Enlightenment, so forth. Experts agree a couple of things about artificial intelligence. The first is, artificial intelligence, the term was coined in 1956. People got a $5,000 grant, and they were going to solve AI that summer. Experts agree that artificial intelligence may not be the best name for this technology. And it's not about the profound capabilities of the technology itself. A better name that you can take with you today when people talk about AI is to think about augmented intelligence and extended human capabilities rather than the capabilities of the technology. It's always a crapshoot if you put your own picture and quote in your presentation, but there are many quotes out there about AI is not going to take your job, but somebody who knows how to leverage AI will. And there are people who know how to leverage AI today that are leapfrogging ahead, and companies that are leapfrogging ahead of all of us who are not preparing this in the same way. So as we look to partner with AI, let's remember that it's an extension of our intelligence, not a replacement. The future will be shaped not by our own minds, not alone, but by the collective intelligence of humans and AI working harmoniously. We can think of generative AI, and I want to make sure that when we think about ChatGPT, I'm going to use a few terms interchangeably for the rest of the conversation. ChatGPT, Midjourney, these are examples of two things. ChatGPT is a large language model, and all of it is considered generative AI, meaning we're creating something with it. We're generating output with generative AI, okay? So all of those terms mean exactly the same. On the flight from Amarillo yesterday, I sat next to a speech instructor, and I was going through this presentation, and she was saying that's confusing. And so, like, who's your audience? I was like, oh, okay. Chelsea, that's why I didn't get you the slides. So we can think of generative AI as a superpower, a multiplier of human capability that will bring new levels of creativity to skills that we bring to work every day. We can think about it as a way to increase human productivity. Early results on productivity, Stanford and MIT did a joint study, and we're finding with generative AI, people at work are 10 to 37% more productive in a task when they're leveraging generative AI, and they're producing better work than those without AI. Okay, so augmenting intelligence, creativity, and productivity. ChatGPT is the best language translator that's ever been invented, and it wasn't even invented for that purpose. And there are other models like Dell and NVIDIA. Dell has something called Digital Human. The city of Amarillo is the first city in the world. The CIO is over in The Hague right now talking to a global conference of cities where they have a digital human on the help desk, and ultimately it will resolve roughly 70% of citizens' calls coming in. Citizen needs. How do I get a hunting license? And the digital human will answer those questions for people online. However, NVIDIA and other companies like Dell, they have technologies where, imagine there were 60 different languages spoken in this room like there are in one school district in the city of Amarillo. Not only with live video, not only does it immediately translate to your native language, it also manipulates my mouth. So you can see me speaking your native language on the fly with one stream and up to 60 different language models, right? So we're bridging these gaps between people leveraging technology. We can meet people where they are and create programs for them. How many of you have ever heard the term cognitive bias? Okay, so in 1979, a gentleman named Daniel Kahneman, who ended up winning the Nobel Prize for his work in something called prospect theory, what he talked about, and there was a book called, his book, called Thinking, Fast and Slow. Fast is about 90% of the decisions we make throughout the day, we use heuristics and experience and intuition. And about 10% of the time, we leverage critical thinking and logic and so forth and really think through things. What AI is bringing and connectivity is bringing are two new systems. So Kahneman refers to those as, in his Nobel-winning work, as system one and system two. System one being the efficient way the brain works to work on intuition and build and rely on models from the past. System two, and how we make decisions, is thinking through it. But today, system three, because of connectivity, is collaborative decision-making more efficiently than ever globally. And system four is, can I leverage the AI to help me make a great decision, to inform me, to give me insights? One of those insights could be around empathy. There are ways to leverage AI as it exists today. And believe me, everything I'm talking about today, it exists, and it's being leveraged by large companies and certain individuals and so forth, and it is moving faster than ever. ChatGPT went to 100 million users in about a month. It broke all records for anything ever. It took, I think the number is 9 months for TikTok to get to 100 million users and 4 years for Facebook, right? So when you're talking about the proliferation and propagation of the use of technology, that is happening now at a faster pace than ever. And one of the things that you can leverage this technology for is to build human skills through simulations. You can ask questions of this technology that inform in a very structured way how somebody of a certain ethnicity or generation or socioeconomic class or their country of origin, et cetera, might react to the way in which you're presenting the information. And then lastly, reclaimed human time. And this is a big one because I talked about 10 to 37%. And when we think about that, in 1974, when the PC was released and it started making its way into offices, there were all sorts of promises of gains in productivity. But what we know happened over the next 50 years is that all of that productivity went to companies, and people just were expected to produce more, are expected to produce more than ever before. Perhaps many of you have had that experience. But as we navigate this age, we want to strive to, not just to do more, but to be more. We are human beings, not human doings, right? I am not great at taking time out and contemplating and so forth. And I think of that as creating white space for myself. My humanity, our humanity, it's not defined by our tasks, but by our essence. And as we fill the white space that we have with meaningful activities or not meaningful activities like checking email and social media and so forth. Let's remember that the beauty of life actually lies in the spaces between. It's in the white spaces of our lives where we find room to grow and to breathe and to be who we truly are. What it means to be human is going to completely be redefined in the next 25 years. And my belief is that the job of educators is to prepare people for that, not just to be cybersecurity analysts or data analytics experts or AI specialists. So with that introduction, I would love to take you on this journey where we'll look very briefly at the landscape. We'll talk about some of the challenges, the opportunities. We'll talk about the skills-based economy. And then I did prepare 20 questions, which we will send with you or get to you for community colleges to be asking themselves, not only about AI, but about the skills-based economy that we're entering. So this is an integration of technology and the impact on workforce. So let's look at the landscape, because the genie's not going back in the bottle. This is, we were talking about this slide briefly at the table before the presentation. This is called a hype cycle. Gartner does this. They're an analyst firm. They do this for many different industries and technologies and so forth. And in July, they released their hype cycle for artificial intelligence. And what I'd like you to focus on is the peak there, which is called the peak of inflated expectations. Okay? Every technology goes through this curve, and you can see three key technologies that are at or near peak hype, which is AI augmented software engineering. AI can pass a test to get to a level 3 engineering job, computer engineering job at Google. It's a $180,000 a year job. AI qualifies for that. Generative AI, which is this category like ChatGPT that we're talking about. By the way, it also produces art. And so every image that you see in my deck today was produced by AI, me and AI. And then prompt engineering, which is this piece of expository writing that we have to do in order to instruct AI what we're looking for, whether that be an output in something like ChatGPT or a photo or whatever the case may be. So you can see that the symbols mean it will be there in less than 2 years. And usually we move from the hype cycle to the trough of disillusionment. So what that means is expect that over the next 12 months or so, you're already seeing headlines like OpenAI is facing bankruptcy, they own ChatGPT, in 2024, right? You're going to see everything's coming down now in the next 12 months or so. It may move much faster than that because of the speed of where we're at. But then technologies make its way up the slope of enlightenment to the plateau of productivity, and that's when it's widely adopted and widely used. Now, what these symbols indicate is the length of time that we have before it reaches the plateau of productivity, which means anything in a blue dot, like those three that you see, in the next 2 to 5 years, looks like that. Now, Gartner's been producing these charts for years, decades, about many different technologies. And I expect that it will be much faster. I don't think 2 to 5 years. These are the same timeframes that they've always used. I believe that we're going to be closer to 18 months to 24 months before some of these technologies accelerate to that plateau of productivity being widely adopted. Then you can see things like autonomous vehicles, and the thing that scares everybody, artificial general intelligence, is more than 10 years out. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So this is the landscape. There are tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars being invested in companies like these. This is the landscape 2023. You can see the three areas there. And this is a snapshot. Every day there are new companies that are starting. There's new funding rounds being announced. It's an incredible pace of technology improvement and investment. Here's all of the startups that have happened. Actually, these are the AI startups that happened in 2018 just in Israel. So this is not a genie that's going back in the bottle, right? Let's understand that. Let's agree on that. That this is just one country, a small country compared to the US economy, and it's 5-6 years ago. So when it comes to your AI strategy, and you don't need to read the eye chart, there are questions that you can be asking at your campuses right now about your strategy. At Innovation Outpost, we can help you ask these questions and gain answers to these questions, perhaps in collaborative work groups. 10 high priority questions about your college's AI strategy. Partnerships with employers about their AI strategies. You know, it's the large companies that are out there right now, and a sprinkling of the small companies that we all know fill our regions. They need help in understanding not only the technology, the use cases, the applicability to their businesses, although it surprises me every day when I talk to CEOs in Amarillo, how many of them have active use cases. Bruckner's, which many of us may know, the diesel dealerships, they have 4 active AI use cases right now to solve issues like technical writing. They're working on autonomous vehicles with Volvo, et cetera. So small, medium, and large companies, there's a broad spectrum of capability in terms of understanding the impact of the technology, but most importantly, what it means for their workforce, which is what we'll talk about next. This is the next set of high priority questions, getting us to 10. And again, we'll make sure this gets distributed to you afterwards. But I believe the human response that we're about to see is a skills-based renaissance. It took 200 years between the printing press and the Italian Renaissance. It will be much faster that we lead towards a skills-based economy. And I want to make the argument I'm talking about at the latest 2030. And there are reasons why. And this is what we have to prepare people for, not just to be responsible users of artificial intelligence and other technologies, but also how to navigate the landscape of what a skills-based economy actually means. And it's difficult for us, all of us, me, you, everybody, to navigate this velocity of change. It requires that we build this skill that we are not wired for. We have never in the history of the human species, we have never been asked to do what we're being asked to do right now, which is to experience multiple paradigm-shifting technologies in the course of a decade or a lifetime. If you look back at the late 18th century and the steam engine, you can see that life expectancy was around 37 years. But there were 100 years between the steam engine and electricity and the combustion engine in terms of adoption within society. So we didn't have to change anything. And you may have been an agricultural worker when the steam engine came to be and we started automating powering textile mills, leading to the loss of jobs for artisan textile families, multi-generational families. But as you came from the field to the factory, you did not learn about that from your grandfather or somebody that could teach you what happened because of the life expectancy. This combination of the speed and the fact that my daughter, who somehow I have a 13-year-old, she has a 1 in 3 chance of living to be 100. Okay? And so when you combine those things, the fact that there's 5 generations in the workforce, there's a lot to navigate. And you can see that we're now on this exponential curve in terms of how quickly new paradigm-shifting technologies are being created. So instead of having 2.5 lifetimes on the other end of the spectrum to adjust, we have to make multiple paradigm shifts regularly. And this is only going to accelerate with the technologies that we're looking at right now: AI, quantum computing, synthetic biology, advanced materials, etc. And what that calls for is new skills requirements. So if you look at, for instance, the 3rd industrial revolution, you see the advent of personal computers and you see automation. This is the 70s. you see the automation of manufacturing. Not smart automation, just machines. And what it required was deep expertise in a particular discipline. And we started needing STEM in the 70s. We named STEM and started the STEM movement in 2001. So it only took us 30 years to name it and create a movement around it. And we do not have 30 years with regard to these technologies because of the speed. What is necessary today in what we're in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution today, and you can see what that includes, but it requires adaptability, digital skills, and something called transdisciplinarity, which is the opportunity to build expertise to a certain depth in multiple domains. Because if I can come in and solve multiple issues, I can be more adaptive when these skills diminish in value where I'm working or in the jobs that I'm working on, the tasks that I'm performing. But in the age of AI and these other technologies, we're entering this time of mass customization, one of one. We need a skills-based mindset. We need to focus on what makes us uniquely human. And we need to learn how to partner with technology in ways we never have before. Instead of using technology to learn ourselves, we're going to partner with AI to learn together. And it's a very different way to learn. So you can see that we have shifts going on where in the third industrial revolution, we were displacing routine manual labor with mechanization, with automation. Now you're talking about the jobs that are at risk are the routine cognitive jobs, the entry-level positions in law firms, accounting firms, administrative positions, retail, etc. The competitive advantage is in a mindset around continuous skill building to give us choices, to give us options throughout a career that will last much longer than any of us expect to work. And again, learning from and with the tool to create new value. This is the framework that Jay talked about, the human skills framework. These are the skills. This is a 7-year-old project. These are the skills that, based on all the synthesis of all of the data that's out there, and this is version 6.3, I think. You probably didn't need the 0.3. The opportunity here is to differentiate ourselves through helping people survive the age of AI by building skills related to this concept of self-determination, that we write the narrative, not the AI, that we're in charge of our career path, that we're in charge of our journey, unlocking human potential, interpersonal collaboration, and then certainly partnering. So when we think about cybersecurity and data analytics and the things that people are gaining associate degrees in today, maybe we should also be thinking about the need for everybody to have heightened digital threat awareness, which is a very basic principle within cybersecurity, because they're called black hats in the security world. The bad people are creating new threat vectors in enterprise infrastructures that we have never seen before. And we're literally talking about bots working against bots to get in. When you look at a large bank today, they are facing 15 to 20 million threats every day on their network. And it's all bots coming at it. We all need to be aware of the threats, the loss of privacy, etc. So let's talk about the future of work. There are 8 disruptive trends shaping the future today. I'd like to focus on just a couple. One is the affordability of automation today. What cost $500,000 to automate just 15 years ago costs roughly $22,000 today. So the demonetization of automation is leading employers to find ways to automate more and more tasks. We talked about hyperconnectivity and multiple generations. Let's talk about artificial intelligence and the fact that the technology that exists today, nothing else needs to be invented, only adopted, and it's being adopted faster than ever, will impact 40% of the working hours across the world. 40%. So we're reaching this inflection point where half the tasks, because that's just language models, ChatGPT, half the tasks in the world by 2030 will be done by a machine, work tasks. 2039, you can see there, that's the latest prediction around artificial general intelligence. This is an important slide. Why are employers comfortable with automation? Why are employers seeking solutions around AI to perform tasks? Okay, so when you think about human performance, let's just talk about performing in the top quartile, the excellent performers in your company. In 2017, when McKinsey, another large analyst firm, asked the experts about AI, they asked, when do you believe that AI and technology will be able to perform these types of tasks at the level that the top quartile of humans can perform it? That was 2017. They asked again in March. You can see much tighter horizons, and you can see much earlier. And this is why I believe we're in a skills-based economy by 2030. And we're actively working on that right now with large companies and large consultancies who can afford to distill the work into tasks and build these new models, these distilling jobs into work. By the way, that last slide was the one the speech teacher said was confusing. So if you got through it, well, my edits were right on. So 40% of working hours. Again, the 40% you get from the 31 plus the 9. And that's just the tasks that are done in these industries that have a high potential for automation or augmentation. And this is data from Accenture. They looked at thousands of different jobs and broke them down into tasks. And you can see in descending order the industries where high levels of automation and augmentation are possible. And then you see the industries where it's more non-language tasks or there's low potential for the language tasks to be automated. So again, 40%. All of the data sort of comes together. What that means is that out of every 10 workers in the United States, 6 of the 10 will have at least 10% of their tasks that they do every day changed by this technology. And 2 of the 10 will have more than half. This is going to be disruptive because it's not 10, it's between 10 and 50%. And once you start saying to somebody, thank you for the 45, 50 hours a week, 30% of your job is changing. Well, like, what's the threshold that we're comfortable with? 20% of your job is changing. So what you do on Tuesdays, that doesn't matter anymore. It's going to be automated, right? That's a much easier conversation to have if you're in a skills-based mindset to say, over the next 6 months, I can gain these new skills that are of value and leverage them somewhere else within the company or not within the company, et cetera. But this is about giving people the runway that they need to be comfortable with this level of change. The skills-based economy that's in front of us, let's talk about a very simple example of the data that we just looked at. You take a customer service job, a typical customer service job, you can break it down into 13 primary tasks. It doesn't cover all the tasks they do every day, but there's 13 primary tasks. 4 of those tasks are highly automatable on the bottom. 5 of them would benefit in the middle from the human working alongside an AI to inform them, give them insights, allow them to make more data-driven decisions, help them write that email with the upset customer, take a draft of an email, put it into the AI and say, how will this person react? Here's the letter they wrote. Here's their NPS score, et cetera. And 4 of the tasks look very much like there's low potential for augmentation or automation, and these are the human tasks. Now, this doesn't speak to what percentage of the day each of those tasks requires, but you can see how when you distill a role into tasks, you can then say, these are the skills that are required. And it's the 4 on the top, the human work that needs to be done, the human skills that we need to be focusing on, in addition to partnering with technology. So 80% of today's jobs are likely to be affected, and this is a study done by OpenAI, and they might be a little biased. Brookings Institute and Goldman Sachs. 80% of today's jobs will be affected. Now, that could be 10%. It could be 40%. It could be 60%. Okay? Almost 1 out of 5 jobs will see 50%. So this data ties out with the last data. 19%, but the other one said 2 out of 10 workers, right? And then they say, here's how it's going to change. The work that we do today, the stuff that's highly automatable and augmentable, that's transactional work. Those are transactional tasks. That's going to diminish significantly. Our expertise will be required across multiple domains, and there will be much more relational work to do. And those were the 4 tasks at the top of the customer service slide. That's the human work that needs to be done. And what you'll see is the expertise will be augmented. There will be less augmentation for the relational work. The transactional will ultimately be substituted by AI or robotic process automation, which is not AI, it's just algorithms. And then incremental productivity gain of 10 to 37%. That's what a skills-based economy begins to look like, and that's one technology driving that change. Just one form of AI, for that matter. One great book that I would love to recommend to all of you is called Work Without Jobs. It's written by Ravin Jesuthasan and John Boudreau. We've created some content together. Ravin is he's a globally recognized HR strategist, and they've written 4 books together. He heads up this practice on the future of work at Mercer, which is a consultancy. And what they talk about is that if you look at all of the jobs today, roughly 30% of them are fixed jobs where they probably won't go away. There's not a lot of augmentation or automation. There's a lot of physicality to that labor, so forth. And so jobs will stay like that. But then there's a middle category where there will be employees. So if you look at the workforce today, when we think about jobs, 30% of that will remain as stable. But the other 70% will begin to be more flexible or completely full-flowing, where we will develop, and believe me, these have been going on for 2 years already, internal talent marketplaces to say, Jay has got this particular set of skills, and it's what we need for this task. So regardless of Jay's title or role or hierarchical reporting structure, he's going to come over here and work on this project. Or we have to outsource it because we need somebody with that set of skills. And so this model that we're all used to of working for 40 years, riding off into the sunset with our gold watch and collecting our pension, and then dying 5 years later, which is how the system was set up. That's not me. That's it's over. Yes, that's scary for all of us, I guess. So it's this is what's not happening. Okay, this was possible in 1990, which is called the Great Reskilling Fallacy. In 1990, if we went and got reskilled mid-career, the half-life of the value of that skill that we learned, technical or otherwise, was 26 years. Today, it's 18 months to 5 years. So this can't happen, right? It's not one shift. It is so many shifts that we have to prepare people for. We were having a nice conversation at the table about the value of multiple associate degrees as the ultimate credential that we can keep stacking as we need to learn more with these differentiated hours, learn more, a different domain, build that level of expertise, build the skills at work, etc. This is a great frame for that. So when you think about the skills that we can automate, the task we can automate, we can shed those skills. And so I have a current role. If I build new skills and I learn how in a new role, technology will augment my human capabilities, I can define my future role. The future of work is uniquely human. I heard that for the first time in 2017. However, it's been around a little bit longer. These are all of the references to needing to build the human skills that are associated with work. These are the skills that matter most to, this is a World Economic Forum chart because they do it every 2 years. They're very consistent, so you can see the movement. For instance, by 2027, design and user experience, you can see the +9 there. That means that right now it's in 17th place, but in a few years it will be in 8th place. Okay, so they have a nice system for that. But if you look at anybody's data, it is generally these types of skills, and you can see how many of them are about relational work. It's the human skills that matter. And so Andrew Scott said, as machines get better at being machines, humans have to get better at being human. This is actually the only picture that I got from Google. Everything else was AI generated. And so again, the framework. And lastly, 10 high priority questions for you and your campuses about the skills-based economy, because it's not just about AI. And we will absolutely get you these 20 questions. It might be 23, but I didn't think anybody would count with the headlines. There are questions that we have to ask, not just about the technology, but about its impact on people. And that's what we have to prepare people for, is the skills-based economy that will emerge within the age of AI in this decade, right now. If somebody's planning to go to work, if they're going to join a community college next year, and 3 years later, they're going to earn their associate degree on average and go to work, they will be facing all of this, everything that you've just seen. The time is right now to take action with regard to these types of strategies. And it has to be agile. It has to move quickly. It has to be adaptive. You have to build this competency. In fact, we'll throw in 10 more questions about the change management and the implementation piece, because the barriers that we will face in these kinds of changes, the technologies, the skills-based shift, it works against everything that we have known throughout our careers and our lifetime. Thank you very much for the time today.